Hello everyone, welcome back to another Honkai Impact third video. Today we'll be taking a look at Senna's kit and basically give you guys some F2P stigmata options as well as some Valkyries that you guys can use for her. But first, in order to give you guys these options, I need to make sure that you guys understand her kit really well so you can basically be able to build her yourself without really going over some of my recommendations, because obviously most of you guys are F2P players and don't really have some of the Valkyries that I'm going to be recommend. So if you guys understand her kit really well, it's going to be easier for you guys to build her. We're going to be taking a look at her leader skill, her basic attack, her ultimate evasion, her weapon skill, her ultimate, and finally her passive, and then basically give you guys a verdict on her overall performance. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Honkai Impact 3 content. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so taking a look at Senna's leader skill, it basically scales with the amount of Valkyries that have Astral Ring tags in their kit. So stuff like Helia and Coralie are really good integration to the team. She'll be able to provide a bunch of cool buffs such as weapon skill, elemental damage to the entire team when Stellar Outburst isn't active. Domain Resonance Mark can be triggered 2 times. I'm going to be explaining what Domain Resonance is in a sec, so stay tuned. And finally, she'll be able to give resonance damage to the entire team as well as elemental damage debuffs to the enemies. So this leader skill is only really good into characters that have Astral Ring tags. So part 1 character won't really benefit from this, so stuff like Eden or Teresa. So I wouldn't really recommend using Senadina as a leader if you're going to be using part 1 characters, because the buffs won't really apply except for the first one. However, if you want to use part 2 characters or the trio for part 2, it's better to use her as a leader because you're going to be providing a bunch of good buffs to the entire team. So very good leader skill. The cost for it is 150 for the Stellar Outburst, and the cooldown is 25 seconds, which is okay. Compared to Telema, it's kind of expensive. However, it's really strong in general, so you'll be fine when using the Astral Ring, so it's gonna be okay. Her basic attack is actually kind of straightforward, to be honest. You have a 4-sequence attack that can be done on the ground or on the air, and on hit of the 4th sequence, Senna will grant herself Thunderous Pulse Charge for a couple of seconds. It's basically a state that she goes into with her weapon skill, and then when you have Thunderous Pulse, you'll be able to use the weapon skill to deal a bunch of damage to the enemy. It's a pretty straightforward attack, makes it really easy to pick up and understand, especially for newer players that really just got into Honkai. So basic attack is very simple. For Senna's ultimate evasion, it basically triggers a 2-second time fracture, which is pretty nice, and has actually a pretty long cooldown, which is 15 seconds. It's kind of iffy, to be honest. If you hold the evasion, you'll be able to yo-yo surf. However, this is not really that useful. It's only really good when you're going around the map part 2, so you can basically be faster in the map. You can also press attack to trigger the evasion skill and make a 3-sequence basic attack. This basic attack will basically be able to let you enable Thunderous Pulse Charge, which in turn will give you a lot of damage. The evasion attack can also deal a lot of damage to Stardust enemies, and obviously will let you gather more Stardust Remnants, which in turn will give Senna a lot more total damage. So Senna will be able to be really strong into Stardust enemies, actually stronger than Griseo in terms of gathering Stardust Remnants, just because of her ultimate evasion. So this is really good into Stardust enemies, especially Stardust bosses. So she has a really good coverage into Exalted Abyss and Memorial Arena, which makes her really strong. So definitely a really good ultimate evasion to have. Alright, so taking a look at Senna's weapon skill, this is basically her most important part of her kit and makes it so that she becomes really strong. Her base weapon skill deals a bunch of lightning damage and grapples towards the target, which is pretty straightforward. It has a cooldown of 3 seconds. However, after you get Thunderous Pulse Charge from basic attacks, her weapon skill will flash and you'll change to Thunderous Strike state. This is a state that Senadina will go into and will deal a bunch of lightning damage, pulling nearby enemies. So this state will then change into Thunderous Blazar state for 8 seconds and will grant Senadina a bunch of cool buffs, including lightning damage from weapon skills, more lightning damage when not in Stellar Outburst, and more total damage. Very good state to get into for Senadina. She's also going to be dealing more resonance damage when in Stellar Outburst and more debuffs to the enemies when AR is not active. So this is a very good state that Senadina will go into once you use her weapon weapon skill. Her last weapon skill is called Thunder in Clear Skies, where she'll be dealing a bunch of lightning damage to the entire enemy. This shit also gives elemental breach and elemental damage buffs to Senadina, so this is a very good state that also Senadina goes into when using her last weapon skill. When you enter Stellar Outburst, Thunderous Blazar will reset, so make sure you use all your Thunderous Blazar when you're not in Stellar Outburst. And then the first Thunder in Clear Sky will be upgraded to Lightning Flash Anchor. So in this attack, she can be dealing a bunch of lightning damage and pull surrounding enemies and leave a Domain of Resonance mark on the field. So this is a mark that Senadina will create, and you'll be able to deal resonance damage by using the entire trio. So if you use weapon skill from Coralie or from Helia, you'll be able to deal AoE damage as resonance damage. And trust me, the damage is actually kind of crazy. This is basically where you get your damage from with the trio. So very, very good. Very good shit to have, to be honest. For her ultimate, it's basically really straightforward. You're going to be dealing a bunch of damage, which is kind of nice. And if you're in Stellar Outburst, you'll be dealing more lightning damage. This is very straightforward from Senadina's thing, to be honest. Very easy to understand. You can basically use this in the rotation anytime you want, but I think the better option for using the ultimate is during Stellar Outburst, because you'll obviously be doing more lightning damage. So make sure you use it during Stellar Outburst and then you rotate during your combo. Alright, so taking a look at Senna's passive, she actually has a bunch of passives that makes her really strong, but the most noticeable ones are the following. So when Astral Ring is active, weapon skills of all characters in the team with Domain of Resonance stack will gain a bunch of total damage and elemental breach. So she basically has permanent elemental breach for the entire team. She also deals obviously a bunch of Stardust damage or total damage from Stardust enemies, so it's gonna be really nice into Stardust enemies. Thunders in Clear Skies or Anchor will create Stardust remnants. You'll be able to collect those and deal a bunch of more total damage, which is really nice. And for each Stardust remnants picked up, you'll be able to deal more lightning damage to the enemy, and this stacks 15 times. So you'll be able to deal 15 times more elemental damage to the Stardust enemies. So she has a really good coverage when it comes to Stardust characters or Stardust enemies. So she's gonna be really strong into Memorial Arenas or Exalted Abyss. And during Stellar Outburst, enemies take more elemental damage from resonance skills and team total damage. So very strong passives to have, and she's pretty strong, not gonna lie. Overall, Senna is actually a really good Valkyrie and is considered one of the best lightning Valkyries in the entire game right now. She provides a bunch of good different buffs to the team, including lightning damage, total damage, and resonance damage if you're using the trio. She also provides a bunch of good debuffs to the entire enemy, including debuff on lightning damage. Her Stigmata's sets are actually free to play, and basically they're the way to go. The only thing that's not farmable about Senna's gear is her weapon, which you can get with the Foundry if you haven't managed to get the one from the gacha, because it'll be a good stat stick, so you'll be fine. Honestly, there isn't really other good options for her in terms of Stigmatas. Her set is completely farmable and very cheap, so there isn't really a necessity going for other worse options. For her team, obviously the trio is a really good pair with her, Coralie and Helia, and they're also really free to play. Coralie, you'll be able to get her weapons and her Stigmatas for completely free just by playing the game, and Helia as well. But you could use her with other Part 1 characters, including Bronya, obviously, because Bronya is absolutely broken, her Shore of Truth, Eden, and Lunar Vow Teresa. You could also use her with Fischl as a secondary support, and if you don't have Bronya, you can use basically Senadina, Fischl, and Eden for the Paralyzed Trauma and SP regen, but it won't be as good as other Valkyries that I mentioned before. But overall, broken ass Valkyrie. Hope this video was helpful, and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and let me know if you want to see more of these types of videos. I'm going to be doing more long edit and more high quality videos for you guys. However, the uploading will be less than before, just because I want to make sure it's very polished and not really something that I want to get out with, so it's more quality over quantity. I'm going to try this schedule and see if it works, and yeah, that's basically it. If you guys enjoy the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Honkai Impact 3 content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.